Welcome back to the 24th floor. SEC Media Days are in the books. And if you're an Ole Miss fan, there was no shortage of storylines from Pete Golding's candid comments to the expectations surrounding quarterback Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, and with fall camp right around the corner, obviously there's plenty of stuff to unpack before they actually hit the field. All the storylines that everybody wants to talk about, that some of them won't be storylines once the season starts.
Exactly. So let's do exactly that with the man you can't talk Ole Miss football, or actually just Ole Miss athletics without. He's the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on 24 Plus YouTube and anywhere you download your podcast. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Stephen Willis. It's that time for football. I got to get the clap.
Well,
that's what I liked.
Yeah, probably should go to a doctor too, Denson, at that point.
That's my joke, right? That's my joke, right?
Just saying, when you say it like that.
The clap.
You can snap that ball. All right, on to actual football and not my crude jokes. Steven, how's it feel to get finally closer to talking about some pigskin?
Yeah, we are limping over the finish line, and I did not realize that I got into a time machine and went back to 1978, so I appreciate that, guys.
You're welcome.
So, Stephen, let's start with the big picture. SEC Media Days behind us. What's the biggest thing Ole Miss fans should have taken away from what they heard in Tampa?
That there's a chance, like a real chance, that Ole Miss has a Kirby Smart level coach.
Ooh.
Now we need to see what it looks like on the field. We saw the playoff run, but literally everything that he has been asked to do since he has taken over, and he took over a storm back in December, he has exceeded with flying colors. And if you travel that over to this football season, if they have a 10-win season, 11-win season, you may have just found that special guy that you did not know that you had. And I do think that the performance by Pete Golding at Media Days was eye-opening to people that hasn't been paying attention to Pete Golding up until now, because he was a star. Everybody was absolutely wowed. He is completely authentic and genuine, and all of that stuff moved over on the football field. If they can win games, they're going to win a lot of them.
So when you talk about it, I think for people who maybe didn't get to watch Media Days, because the average person doesn't get to watch Media Days, right? So Pete Golding seemed or came across as kind of a quiet, just show up and do your job kind of guy, because you had Lane Kiffin, who was very eccentric, who was the head coach, right? So it almost kind of masked a little of who Pete Golding was. What did you get to see? What did people get to see from Pete Golding during Media Days that they hadn't really seen before?
The weird thing is, like, before he was the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss, he was with Nick Saban, which means he spoke one time per year to the press.
What?
So,
nobody
you don't get to
talk. Nick don't let anybody talk.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't know what you have until you get up in front of a microphone. And the first thing you realize is the guy's comfortable. You can see why he is such a good recruiter, the way he communicates things, the way he is very attentive listening, the way he is straightforward, and all of that, all of these good things that people just relate to. He just throws it out in a press conference setting, which is refreshing whenever everything is so guarded in a press conference. Basically, all a press conference is good for now in college sports is by distributing talking points. Pete Golding coming out with authentic things and saying real stuff, putting some real red meat out there for people to chew on a little bit. That is puts you in the good graces of the people that are watching. And when you look at his defense and everything that he knows, it's just different because everything is so buttoned up on the college sphere right now. And because of that, Pete Golding got a standing ovation when he walked off the podium, and that wasn't by Ole Miss media. It was just because he was that entertaining talking for 20 minutes. And stuff like that is going to pay off. Like I said, if they win games and allow him to next gear this just a little bit, Pete Golding could be a problem.
I will say the Mid-South area is spoiled when it comes to its head coaches. They got really personable guys. Memphis has got Coach Huff, and then Ole Miss has Pete Golden. They always give you something when you listen to their press conference. Stand on Pete. Now, I know going into media day, everybody wanted to see how he would address the Lane Kiffin situation because that's all we talked about for the past couple of months. He said, Stephen, that basically everybody won in the end. But considering how emotional that coaching change was, do you think that kind of pushes toward finally closing that chapter, or do you think that happens after Ole Miss LSU this season, or it never ends?
It's after the game. After the game, it's down. In 1998, 1999, Tommy Tuberville was the coach at Ole Miss, and you had a similar situation to where he went to Auburn. And the next year, Ole Miss went to Auburn. And the build-up to that game was absolutely nuts. Ole Miss ended up winning whole 9 yards like that. But the year after that, Tommy Tuberville just became Auburn's coach. I think something similar is going to happen here after the football game. You're going to have all of the build-up. It's going to happen. You're either going to win it or you're going to lose it, and then you're going to kind of move on just a little bit.
Speaking of moving on, let's move on to the guy that most people are really keyed on right now, and that's, in my mind, the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy in the upcoming season is Trinidad Chambliss. What was your takes from SEC Media Days when it comes to Trinidad Chambliss?
He's just one of the most charismatic dudes I've seen in a place where they always send charismatic dudes. You know, you're going there. It would not surprise me. Now they might pick something else because of everything happening, but he would be the Dr. Pepper Fansville guy. He's going to be getting national commercials this year because he really has that charisma that you just can't fake, honestly. He seems like such a genuine guy on the outside, and then you look at him on the football field, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's prime Russell Wilson out there. That's Baker Mayfield running around, and he can do all of this other stuff. He really is kind of a unicorn, and Ole Miss struck gold with this guy.
Well, he said a phrase that he said a lot during media days was unfinished business, but he was very quick to really turn the page on last season, saying last year was last year, playoff run is over, and that the standard now, Stephen, is winning a national championship. Is that realistic pressure, or exactly is that where Ole Miss should be as a program?
Listen, I think he legitimately believes that. Remember, when he was at Ferris State last year, in 2024, they won the national title. The next year, he transferred to Ole Miss, and they were 18 seconds away from playing for a national title. Yep. So I think he legitimately believes that. Now, this roster, this is a better football team. Now, I don't know if the record's going to be better. This is a better football team than what they had a year ago. Last year, they weren't supposed to make that run. They were kind of a year early. This year, you've got Kewan and Trinidad and all the experience back. You don't even think about it. Ole Miss has 3 players in their wide receiver room, 5-star players in high school. And you don't even think about that because they lost to Sean Stribling and Harrison Wallace and those guys on the outside. So the talent is there around the team. You have a belief system. I really like what is being instilled on the outside. What they've done the last 6 months, I'm pretty impressed to see where they go. And whenever they kick off against Louisville on September 6th, they're going to go into that game with expectations because I think they genuinely all think that the goal is win the national title.
Yep.
So with all that having been said, though, like how difficult is that in the SEC? I mean, we got to talk about how difficult that is. Confidence is great. But so much of making it that far has to do with the matchups and the timings of the games on that schedule. You know, I think that's a thing that people forget about sometimes is, you know, we're really talented, but then you got to map out that schedule and say, okay, where's the one place you can afford a hiccup, you know, or where's the place you can't afford a hiccup, or what's your trap game, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning you can afford a hiccup.
Yeah, I think if you have a hiccup, I think that Florida game down in the swamp after the LSU game.
I think
Yeah, they're not great, but that building is not going to be any easier because they're not quite as good. Remember, in 2024, Ole Miss went down there with a chance to go to the playoffs and
Yeah,
laid an
and
egg.
they lost. Yeah.
Yeah. So that coming off the LSU game, that's a problem. Whenever you look at the Auburn game on Halloween, smack dab in the middle
Forgot
of
about that
Texas
one.
and Georgia.
Yeah.
Stuff like that could be a problem. I do think with the strength of schedule, I think this is the year a 9-3 team gets into the tournament.
Correct. You are correct.
And I think that there is a little bit of margin for error for Ole Miss. They're going to be good enough and get the marquee wins necessary to where a slip up here and there. I don't think there's a Kentucky on Ole Miss's schedule this year. But that Florida type stuff would be difficult, like LSU in 2024. That those type games are there, and I do think Ole Miss will slip up on one or two of those. But talent wise, they have all the ability in the world to make it through it. And the schedule might be difficult, like at Texas, playing Georgia, at Oklahoma again against those lifelong rivals, Oklahoma Sooners. It's going to be interesting to see what they put together, but it's all games that a year ago, with the exception of that Texas game. So I'm sure they think they're going to be able to do it this year as well.
I know you said a 9-3 team could probably get into the playoffs. I agree. But I'm hoping Ole Miss doesn't look at it and be like, okay, if we lose 3 games, we'll still get in. Because even with the season that they had last year, we're going to remember it because we lived in this area. But in the grand scheme of things, you're remembered for, did you win the conference? And did you win it all? Did you win the Natty? And Ole Miss did neither of those. And for me, as an Oklahoma State alum and fan, that's all I ever care about with any school. It's like, did we win the conference? Did we win the Natty? So I would hope Ole Miss is looking at, okay, let's win the conference. Let's get to Atlanta and play for an SEC championship game. And then, of course, let's win it all and win the national title.
Yeah, I think their goal is go 1-0 every week.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about this Ole Miss football team is your best players are also your leaders. When you look at the 3 players that got sent to SEC Media Days, it was Trinidad Chambliss, Kejuan Lacey, and Will Eccles, the 3 best players on the football team. And those are the leaders moving forward. And when you have leaders setting national championship expectations and looking at it 1-0 and talking about the Louisville Cardinals and all that and saying all the right things, everybody else is going to stand up and listen to those guys because it's the best players on the team. It's an interesting thing because a lot of time the best players are not the best leaders. And a lot of time the best leaders are just people in the background that are just really good dudes. It is very rare that the leaders are the best players on your roster.
Last thing, Stephen, before we let you go, this isn't related to Media's Day, but this is recent news, and I think, me and Ruben think it's going to be big news in the college football world. Ole Miss suing 2 former players who transferred to LSU with Lane Kiffin. They're seeking nearly $1 million for what it says is a breach of their revenue sharing agreements after they signed deals to stay and then transfer. How significant could this case be, just not for Ole Miss, but for college football as a whole?
Yeah, this is kind of the first guardrail that could get put down because in this era of rev share, this is the first time contract and the actual school, because it's not the Grove Collective that's suing them. It is Ole Miss. It is literally the university. So everybody in the country, if this goes to court, they want Ole Miss to get their money because they want that guardrail with everything that is going on. Listen, Ole Miss had no choice but to do this. They didn't want to do it. They wish they didn't have to do it, but they have to do it because if you don't, Prince Will Mamiel and Devin Harper, those 2 players, next year in the next transfer portal cycle becomes 10 because that's how human nature works. So in order to have a contract, it has to be enforceable. If it's not enforceable, it's not a contract. It's merely a suggestion. And I think this is the absolute right thing for Ole Miss to do. And everybody needs to root that this comes out the right way for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I know we got to go. I 1,000% agree. You want to be treated like a professional. You want to get paid. Then you got to adhere to the guidelines that you agreed to. You signed a contract. You took the money. And so now you're bound by the contract. We're bound by contracts. That means what it is.
Ole Miss is always in these lawsuits. Isn't it just funny, Stephen? Just always something.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's good for content people like me, so I guess we have that.
Well, Stephen, we always appreciate the insight. Before we let you go, as always, tell everybody what you're working on and where they can find your work.
We are getting ready to start fall camp. We're finally here at football season. You can catch my work on YouTube at Locked On Ole Miss or wherever you get your podcast. Also, join the Everydayer Club. That's lockedonolemmiss.supercast.com, and you can get a little bit extra and go ad-free as well. Lots of fun there, and I look forward to seeing you.
All right, Stephen, appreciate you, big dog. Have a great rest of your day.